like these that all kids dream of. It's moments like these that make hockey the greatest sport in the world. The Stanley Cup, the most coveted award in all of hockey, and one of the hardest trophies to win in the entire world, is up for grabs with only 2 teams remaining. In one corner, a team that's been here as early as last year, but ultimately came up short. But this year's different. A Paul Maurice-led squad looks to right the wrong from last season with a healthy Matthew Tkachuk, a 50-goal scorer in Sam Reinhart. This team is loaded from top to bottom, and more hungry than ever. And in the other corner, the Edmonton Oilers. A team that was once tied for dead last this season is now just 4 wins away from hoisting Lord Stanley. This season has been a roller coaster, but looking back on it, it's been one hell of a ride. Cup or bust was the term the players said after last season's disappointing finish. And here they are now. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl and company look to make history of their own. The time for waiting is over, Oilers fans. It's almost puck drop. To the Florida Panthers and Edmonton Oilers, welcome to the Stanley Cup Final. It's been 18 years since the Oilers have made it to the Stanley Cup Final. Last time, it was the Hurricanes, and this time, it is the Florida Panthers, the last team that stands in the Oilers' way, as we get you set for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final between the Oilers and the Panthers on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. I'm your host for tonight, YouTube Trev. How's it going, everyone? Look, it's a great night today. We're having a lot of fun.
We got to give some clicks for YouTube Trev. What an intro, buddy.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Put that together.
Who's
right
Tom
after.
Gazzola?
Yeah, who's Tom?
What do you got? YouTube Trev.
Exactly. Yeah, it was. It seems to be getting a few. It's hard to, because I hear obviously a little bit of the crowd here. So that picked up a little bit of the audio, but I'm sure for the people back home, hopefully it sounded nice and clear. Hell yeah, YTT. Dapper AF, let's go. This is awesome. Honestly, I'm pretty nervous, but I was more nervous getting everything set up. Everything seems to be doing pretty good. So,
Trev, I think you're doing good, buddy.
Yeah, man.
I think you're killing it right out of the start. Like right off the start, you come out swinging.
Yeah.
You're out doing Tommy Gazzola.
No,
you look better than him.
No,
you smell better than him.
I did put on.
Who needs Tommy right now? Tommy the wrench.
Tommy the wrench.
You can do whatever you need to do over at the Elks game. We got YouTube Trev holding it down.
Let's go.
Here we are today.
Yeah, here we are is right. We are holding it down at Bourbon Street, in West Edmonton Mall, Hudson's. If you're on your way, definitely stop by. It's pretty electric in here right now. The vibes are great. And it's only going to get better, right, Belsey?
Absolutely. It's just starting out right now, but the mall is busy. It's pandemonium outside. You see Oiler flags everywhere, people in Oiler jerseys. Yep. They're starting to filter into Hudson's. It's going to be a fantastic atmosphere. So if you haven't decided to go anywhere, come down to Hudson's West Ed and enjoy all the action here. YouTube Trev will be here. He'll be flying around. He'll be watching the game. He might even do 25 miles today because he's probably so nervous right now.
I might, honestly.
I love it.
It's the first game and probably last game of the playoffs this year where I will be having a few brewskis after the pregame show, because usually, right, I'm hosting or I'm producing the postgame show, but not tonight. So huge shout out to Zach to come. That's he's at the EST Global HQ holding the fort down. I know what it's like, Zach, and we'll get you on here shortly. But as the show rolls along, I'm going to get to the question of the night, and we'll start off with, just because I've been on the other side, Tommy always usually comes to me first. We'll hear from Zach come first.
Sure.
Question of the night, and to all the nasties out there, you can text in, as always, 780-218-9999. Question of the night. What's your favorite Stanley Cup final you've ever watched? And you can add to this a little bit. What's your favorite Stanley Cup memory that you have? Maybe you watched it with someone growing up. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So definitely drop a comment down below and text in as well. How's it going? Yeah, we're getting it going right now, man. Awesome. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much. Yeah, as we get some nasties coming in, that is awesome. So question of the night once again. We'll get to it as well. What's your favorite Stanley Cup final you've ever watched? Let's hear from the man right now. Zacticum, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. This city is pumped up for tonight. I mean, game one. Like, this is the first time in my life that I remember being able to watch the Oilers in the Stanley Cup Final. I was 2 years old the last time they made it against the Hurricanes. I was sitting on my dad's lap, probably on the patio somewhere, just watching it on TV. But tonight is great. I mean, you got to dress well. You're looking sharp, Trev, and I'm wearing the suit as well. Yeah, exactly, right?
Did I not get the memo? What's going on right now? Did I not get it at all?
No.
I'm just sitting here like casual.
What are you talking about? You look good.
Holy man.
Hey,
you guys did this on purpose, didn't you?
I mean, you gotta look good to perform good. And, you know, my favorite Stanley Cup memory, though, for the final is when I remember first really watching hockey, and it was between the LA Kings and the New York Rangers in that final. I remember watching game 5, I think it was, and game 6 as well with my older brother, and he really got me into watching professional hockey. Before I would just play, but he sat me down. He's like, kid, you got to watch this stuff. You have to watch this. Like, this is the best players in the world. And I was like, I didn't know who to think. I didn't know who I wanted to win, but I looked at the names and looked at the jerseys, and I thought the LA Kings had nicer jerseys. I can't lie. Wanted them to win, but looking back on it, want Lundqvist to win. But that was the first time that I watched a Stanley Cup final, and that was probably, 10 years ago now? So
yeah,
I love it here.
Just over 10 years, I think.
Yeah.
No. Awesome. Zacticum, that was a great answer. It was a great series, one of many. I mean, you can't go wrong with any Stanley Cup final. And here's hoping this one will be just as good as that one, Zacticum. So we'll come to you in a bit. Keep crushing things, buddy. And yeah, great answer. Great answer. Let's go to you, Belzy. Do you have a favorite Stanley Cup memories, favorite Stanley Cup final in general?
Well, in terms of memory, I mean, I got the opportunity to play with Minnesota Wild. That was an interesting series because we were a team that was a bit on the rise, but we ended up playing against the Anaheim Ducks, who ended up winning. One of the memories that I remember from that particular Stanley Cup Finals playoff run, if you will, was when Brad May knocked out Kim Janssen, and that basically put an end to us. It still sits there in my head where I'm like, man, maybe if Kimmy Janssen was still playing, we might have had an opportunity to go a little bit further. They ended up winning the cup. They had an unbelievable hockey team. But as far as legitimate Stanley Cup finals that I can remember, obviously the easy one is the 06 run with the Oilers, the Pisani goals. But I mean, I'm going to go even further back. My dad was a Habs fan. He lived in Montreal for a long time. So when they won the cup, it was on in our house all the time, and it was hard to forget those memories because it was everybody was so excited in the household, and it's when a team like that wins it. It was surreal. Yeah,
no, that's great, man. That's super cool. Dad's okay, so
my dad's a Habs and Oilers fan.
Okay.
So obviously living in Montreal for the time that they did, they're a Habs fan. It's almost crazy not to be a Habs fan if you're living in Montreal. As soon as he moved out here, obviously they became Oiler fans, and the rest is kind of history.
Sweet, man. Well, that's awesome. I think I'm going to take a quick answer. I'm going to give a quick answer to this as well. For me personally, I loved what Ovechkin did back when he finally won the cup. That's kind of why I put it in the intro video there. Just seeing him hoist Lord Stanley after, kind of being shadowed by Crosby for all that time. And he finally beat Sidney Crosby and the Penguins to advance. And of course, the year he does it, he goes and wins the cup. So I was really rooting for Gretzky for Ovechkin there. It's cool. It's really cool. It's sad when you see the players, especially like the GOATs, if you will, the Joe Thornton. You look at Joe Pavelski this year, he's hanging him up after many years, but it's always sad to see. So that series, that final, I thoroughly enjoyed. And then back in my grade 12 year, I loved the San Jose Sharks, Pittsburgh Penguins final. I thought that was a lot of fun, a lot of star talent there. And it was really cool. So that is the question of the night. We'll put it out there one more time. And it is, what's your favorite Stanley Cup final you have ever watched? So feel free to drop a comment down below. We will be reading some text as always. You can text us 218-99-99. And if you haven't already, drop the like. What are you doing? Drop a like.
Smash that like button.
Yeah, it helps with the algorithm. It really does. So we would really appreciate that. And without further ado, let's go into tonight's lineups. These are the lineups that were provided by Tom Gazzola. So if I'm wrong, blame it on Tommy.
Blame it on him.
Absolutely. For the Edmonton Oilers, in the first line, you've got Connor McDavid in between Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman. On the second line, you've got Leon Draisaitl in between Vander Kane and Dylan Holloway. Third line has Adam Henrique slotted in between Connor Brown and Matthias Janmark. And then for the fourth line, you've got Ryan McLeod, Corey Perry, and Warren Foegele. For defense, you've got Ekholm and Bouchard. There's a lot of talk about this on Hello Hockey today. You've got Nurse and Ceci reunited. And then in the third pairing, you've got Broberg and Kulak, which we're definitely going to get into some questions with Broberg being in. Obviously, Florida Panthers, a lot more physical team. A lot of people are surprised that he's the guy that's in tonight. But, yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit here. And then for the Florida Panthers, very talented, just stacked team. Just looking at the roster, it's no surprise they are where they are. You got Alexander Barkov, probably the best two-way center in the NHL. He's slotted between Carter Verhaeghe and Sam Reinhart, 50-goal season he just had. You got Sam Bennett in between Evan Rodriguez and Matthew Tkachuk on the second line. Third line, you've got Anton Lundell in between Vladimir Tarasenko and Eetu Luostarinen. And then on the fourth line, you've got Kevin Stenlund in between Kyle Oposo and Steven Lorentz. For defense, for the Florida Panthers, you've got Gustav Forsling, sorry, that's a typo, Tommy, and Aaron Ekblad.
He's trying to get you.
Yeah, he is. So, yeah, Gustav Forsling and Aaron Ekblad on the first pair. You've got Nico Mikkola, fun name to say, on the left side. Right side is Brandon Montour, and finishing things off on the defense, OEL, otherwise known as Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Dmitry Kulikov, former Oiler. I should have mentioned out for both teams. For the Oilers, we have Vinny Desharnais is out, Derek Ryan, Sam Carrick, Sam Gagner, Stetcher, as he has an ankle surgery. And then for the Florida Panthers, the players out are Ryan Lomberg and Nick Cousins. Starting goalies for tonight's matchup, you got 25-year-old Stuart Skinner, 11-5 record with 250 goals against average and 897 save percentage with one shutout in the 16 games he's played thus far. For the Florida Panthers, you've got 35-year-old Sergei Bobrovsky's 12-5 record this playoffs with a 220 goals against average and a 908 save percentage. He as well has one shutout in the 17 playoff games he's played. So there you go. Those are the lineups today. There you have it. It's going to be an interesting one. Let's get into the nasty chat. Are we seeing anything there, Belzy?
Not really. There's a lot of people that's they're just excited for it. They're love seeing you right now.
Yeah, I'm not
they
gonna
love
lie.
seeing you on here. This is fantastic. Are you still nervous?
No,
the nerves have gone. Hey,
the nerves are gone. Yeah, like all day. It was funny all week when I was told that I was going to be doing this. I was like, oh gosh, like how am I going to do this? Tom Gazzola, he's such a pro. Obviously, a huge fan of his before I met him, so it's crazy. And now I'm filling in for him, so that's pretty cool. I'm not going to be Tom Gazzola. There is only one Tom Gazzola, so I'm just, I'm going to be me. YouTube Trev is what I think
there is only one of him.
Yeah,
that is right.
So, no, this is sweet. Huge thanks. I know I got a lot of family watching right now, so I do want to give a quick shout out to them. This is awesome. And as for texts, I know we do have our game analyst, Matt Kassian, coming on by. Let's see. We got texts from Corey B. I love the contrasting styles. Looking good, fellas.
Thank you. I didn't get the memo, apparently. All these guys, these young Thundercats are wearing suits, and I'm sitting here looking like this. Unbelievable.
I'm sorry.
Text messages still work, I think, right?
Okay, well, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I told you.
It's okay.
It's funny. I'm like, I don't know. As soon as I get so, like, this is tough for me, man. When I was walking in, everyone's looking at me, and I'm just like, oh, gosh. Like, I feel weird, but whenever I see people wearing suits,
you look good, buddy.
I'm like, damn, he does. Like, these guys look really good.
Yep.
So we're still waiting for our game analyst. I know he was coming by shortly. So we'll rattle off some texts here.
So how are you feeling right now going into the game one? Where are you at? What do you think the Oilers are going to do? How are they going to, counter punch, so to speak, the physicality of the Panthers?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of why they chose to go with Broberg tonight. They're going for speed. And that's one thing I'll get in with Cass and I guess yourself. But these guys haven't played each other, and it's been almost December or January, I believe. So it's been quite some time. As I'm just getting word Cass is in. So I'm fascinated to see, but the Oilers, they have played against a physical team in the Vancouver Canucks. They handled it well. They got the job done, and
yeah, they did.
That's the thing. I'm going to be curious. I think for sure, if you watch the playoffs so far, the Oilers' stiffest competition was the Vancouver Canucks, and they were a very physical team. I think the Florida Panthers are even more physical, so that's going to be certainly fascinating to watch how that goes. But you got the speed. The Oilers do have the speed. They've got the top end talents. It's going to be interesting to see how that how the series it goes. And from game one, you're gonna learn a lot from game one. If the Oilers lose this, I honestly could see Vinny Desharnais. I think that's the thing. Okay, Broberg, now we know the speed didn't work. Let's bring in Vinny Desharnais, a lot more physical presence, and see how that matchup goes. But I am getting word from Zach to come that we do have our game analyst, Matt Kassian. Let's get to him now. How's it going, Cass? Oh, look at this! Look at this guy.
Cass, take yourself off mute, buddy.
Think he might be muted. I hope so. No mute. We will get to.
No, can't hear you, buddy.
Still can't hear him. Okay, we will get to that in a second. I don't think that's anything on my end, but let's rattle off a few more texts here. Big Slam Nasty. Cheers to you, YTT. Killing it. My memory is being in the third grade during the 06 run and crying when Rolison went down. Conklin coughed the puck up. We will right the wrongs this year. Yeah, certainly for a lot of people, that was a very memorable playoffs for sure. Yeah, very, very memorable series just in general finals. So that's a good one. Thanks for the support, Big Slam Nasty. Really, really appreciate it. We got Andrea, looking good, YTT. So we're getting lots of love. That's just so nice. So we're going to give this a go again. I think if everything's ready, we're going to have Matt Kassian. Matt, can we hear you, Cass?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Let's go.
Good.
Did it.
I don't know what's going on with that. I didn't get the memo either. I think as we just add people into the show, we're just going to get worse and worse dressed.
100%.
No, okay,
Trev, you're showing us all up.
No,
I love it though.
I'm sorry.
You look good, buddy.
Yeah,
you look good. But I'm out at the cabin.
Oh, nice.
We've had Guys Lake weekend here.
Right.
So I'm out here with the boys, but stepped away for a minute. So we got the projector set up at the boathouse,
awesome.
and we're ready to rock for this one. So we're excited for it, fellas. We are excited for it.
Yeah, the vibes are good. You guys you're feeling it. It's going to be a good game, Cass. So thanks for joining us as always all season long. I think we're just going to dive right into game changers. So I'm just going to whip out the liner and all the liners that we have here. Bear with me, guys. Where is it? There we are. Okay. Here we go. Let's get game changers going. Damon Bunting is a consistent top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian RE/MAX realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community driven, he understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out at damonbunting.com or visit Instagram at damonbuntingrealestate. Okay, Cass. First game changers I have right here. Handle the emotions. What's going into this, Cass?
Well, I mean, Trev, how are you feeling emotionally? Do you feel excited?
I don't know what to do with my hands, Cass.
Do you feel nervous?
I'm very nervous.
Yeah, I mean, very nervous. And, the Edmonton Oilers are going to feel that way too. So will the Florida Panthers. And I know the Florida Panthers were in the Stanley Cup Final last year, but it's such a journey to get there that how can the emotions just not be at a level 10? I mean, you have to deal with the emotions yourself and the emotions of the other team, the emotions of the fans, the emotions in the building. Emotions are a real thing. We really feel them. And the Edmonton Oilers are going to be feeling them. Being able to deal with those emotions, primarily stepping into game number 1 here, where there's been a little bit of a break. You've had some time to sit and think. You've had some time to dwell on this. And, I think the tendency, I don't know if squeezing the sticks may be the right term, but it's the one we sometimes use. It seems to work where it's just like, the nerves are there. The pressure is there, and being able to deal with those emotions is so important, especially after a little bit of a break here that both teams had to deal with. Gentlemen, the Edmonton Oilers have to find a way to deal with their emotions tonight. Especially the first.
Did we lose him?
We might have lost him.
minutes, first 10 minutes, first 15 minutes, you're bogged down is really important. So just feeling comfortable, realizing you belong, not getting overwhelmed with the gravity of the moment is super, super important heading into this first game.
Cass, I just wanted to touch on that. I want to touch on that in terms of handling your emotions. The Edmonton Oilers right now, by many pundits, are going to lose this series. Do they go in saying, hey, we're the underdog, so we don't really have anything to worry about, let's just go play? Or are they sitting in their locker room saying, hey, no, we're actually the team that is in the driver's seat, we are the favorites, and that they're putting that internal pressure on themselves?
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but they were a little bit of the underdogs. Well, I guess they weren't necessarily in the Dallas series, but maybe a little bit. They had that feel to it. I think they're looking at this, now that I think about it, I guess most people, analyst-wise anyways, picked Edmonton to win. I think you're looking at this as the Edmonton Oilers, and you're using anything like that as bulletin board material. Like the McDavid is overrated thing. The analysts and everyone picking the Florida Panthers to win this series, you're going to use that. You're going to say, hey, boys, no one's picking us to win this thing. And from an emotional standpoint, it's like that little bit of that, I'll call it positive emotion from a negative emotion, where it's like you're taking that, someone's throwing you something negative. I don't think the Edmonton Oilers are going to let that beat them down. They're not going to be like, we're the underdogs. No one's picking us to win. We're going to lose. I don't think it'll have that feel to it. If anything, I think that's a positive thing, Shawn, because it's just going to pull that positive emotion out of them, where it's going to be like, yeah, you know what? Who cares what they say? Let's stick it to them. Let's show them. We know we're not the underdog. We know we're a good team. We know we can win this series, and you just settle into yourself maybe a little bit more that way.
Yeah, 100%. Well said.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's been a week, and you have to think all the emotions they've been thinking this past week as well, right? So it's I guarantee they're happy to get to puck drop, and it'll be interesting to see if there's going to be if it's going to be sloppy. I'm expecting maybe a little bit of sloppiness. They were talking about the ice wasn't necessarily the best right now. Obviously, you're gonna get that in Sunshine, Florida. So those are all fascinating stories as we head to Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. We'll go to now with Game Changers number 2, if that works. Deal with the physicality. Cass.
And you guys were already talking about this, but that's going to be a big thing for the Edmonton Oilers. Primarily that defensive core. Can they deal with that physicality? Can they move the puck up ice and punish the Florida Panthers off the rush? And that's how they're going to do it. If they do it, that's how they're going to do it, is by saying, okay, we're going to get hit. We're going to be under pressure. But if we can transition that puck cleanly and quickly to our forward group going back in the other direction, we're going to create situations where we may get odd man rushes, or we may get opportunities off the rush to generate some offense, or to at least gain the zone, get possession, and spend time in the offensive zone. But it's going to be a challenge. We've seen at times the Edmonton Oilers defense where they struggle with some of that pressure. I mean, that's at times when teams have beaten them this year, that's what they have done. Now the Los Angeles Kings, they play a very aggressive game, but then sit back in that 1-3-1. So they're not aggressive in the neutral zone. They're aggressive off the forecheck in the offensive zone, and they managed to deal with it. Playing against the Vancouver Canucks, it was more of a challenge. We saw the Edmonton Oilers turn pucks over, make mistakes. But I don't know how much of that was due to Vancouver and how much of that was just due to Edmonton, just making mistakes, because they made a lot of them in that series. Dallas more evenly matched, but they didn't have the same physicality. So it's going to be an interesting, I don't want to say plot twist of the series, but it's just an interesting aspect of this series that the Oilers defensemen, again in particular, are going to have to deal with it. And the onus will be on the Edmonton Oilers forwards to respond in kind, because when Edmonton's at their best, they're not physical in that they're running people through the wall, but they're physical in that they're taking away time and space, being very aggressive on the forecheck, and forcing turnovers on the other side. So it's an interesting matchup. I think a good matchup, an exciting matchup, but a huge part of this series is going to be how well the Edmonton Oilers defensemen in particular can deal with that aggressive, physical forecheck of the Florida Panthers.
Cass, you mentioned the physicality. One of the things that Knoblauch has done is he's kept Broberg in the lineup, much to, a little bit of surprise from some people. Is this a case of exactly what you're talking about? Because Broberg's strength is skating, and he has the ability to go get pucks as quickly as he possibly can, get it up to the forwards. Is that what Knoblauch's thinking, or is he just saying, I don't want to tinker with the lineup too much because we had the right formula in the last couple of games there against Dallas.
Well, there could be a little bit of that, Belzy, but I lean more towards what you started with, in that Vinny Desharnais, and this is, I guess I'll preface this by saying Vinny Desharnais improved dramatically this season and has been very good for most of the playoffs. The last couple games that Desharnais was in the lineup against Dallas, you started to see some cracks from a foot. I mean, the speed of the series was very, very fast, and you saw some mistakes made, and he got exposed a little bit. Now, not horribly. He didn't play awful, but there were a couple games where it's like, yeah, he's having a tough night. Yeah, he's having a tough night. He's having a tough night. And then, Broberg gets in the lineup. Now, Broberg stepped in. He didn't play a ton of minutes, but played steady minutes. And I think you're looking at this, you do have the aspect of, that's how we won. He was in and we won, so we're going to run with it. But then secondary to that, or maybe primary to that, would be that he skates very well. So if he, as far as going back, retrieving pucks against the physical team that's coming to run people over, to say, okay, he has the extra half step on Vinny Desharnais from an opening up, pivoting, going back to get puck standpoint, where if he gets there a half step before Desharnais would, that's an extra half step of space. And that, in the Stanley Cup Final in particular, that half step can make a world of difference. And so they're probably putting him in here to say, hey, he played well for us when he's in. He's a very good skater, and we might want someone that can bring that to the table. Now, if Broberg struggles at all in one of these games, it wouldn't surprise me if he comes out and Desharnais goes back in. But to start, you're running with the winning lineup with a guy that skates well, that hopefully can relieve some of that pressure that's going to be on you. And I think that's the mindset they're taking.
If Vinny Desharnais is going to come back into the series, what's going to happen? Is that Broberg's out of the lineup? Is it somebody else? Yeah. What would that look like?
Yeah, Broberg struggles or someone gets nicked up. Those are the two scenarios where he comes back in. Yeah. Or even if Broberg doesn't struggle, maybe the penalty kill struggles. Broberg could be fine, but the penalty kill struggles, and they want to say, okay, we want to get Desharnais back out there from a penalty killing standpoint. That could be a situation as well.
Yep.
No, that's fair, Cass. And you've talked about quick ups before. I think majority of people can say that Philip Broberg, his first pass is it's really good, right? And he strives with his speed and his skating. It's so good. So they're definitely going for speed right now, and it'll be interesting to see if that's the play. But all it takes is going to be, one game. And if it's physical, which it's probably going to be physical, it could be early as game 2. You see Vinny Desharnais in. I would not be surprised. So that is Game Changers. That is number 2. We go on to number 3, and I will just say, if you have any questions for Belzy or Cass, shoot us a text, 780-218-9999, or drop a comment in the comment section as we head on to number 3 of Game Changers. Skinner versus the Bob Father. This is good. This is good.
Yeah, this is good. It's a good matchup. To me, pretty even if you look at their numbers based on the last series heading into the Stanley Cup Final, where they both had really good numbers. Now, Skinner, I would say, more methodical in his approach. Bobrovsky is more of the, we'll see the acrobatics. If you kind of peg between the two, Bobrovsky is more likely to get out of position, but he's also way more likely to make a huge, crazy save that he's not supposed to make, where he's just sprawling and flipping and diving all over the place and somehow finds a way to make the save. But it's a good matchup, for all the people that were concerned, worried, scared, freaking out, panicking, all of the above with Stuart Skinner. He settled in the Dallas series and played incredibly well. And I think that's what you're going to continue to see moving forward from him. So it's a huge matchup. Which goalie is going to give you a better game? Can Stuart Skinner just continue to play his consistent self, make the saves he needs to make, occasionally make the big one? And on the flip side, can the Oilers get to Bobrovsky? Can they beat that dramatic save? Can they bear down when they do have those opportunities to make sure that he doesn't get a chance to make the dramatic save? I mean, it's a good matchup. I think you have a veteran goaltender that's been around for a long time, hasn't found a way to win a cup or to seal the deal. And then you have a young goaltender that's on the up and up that has been playing really consistent. So it's a good matchup to me. It's an interesting matchup. And again, if you have a goaltender here in the Stanley Cup Final that steals you a game, kind of like Stuart Skinner, I would say in a lot of ways, stole that Western Conference Final clinching game for the Edmonton Oilers, you could see a team that ends up winning the Stanley Cup, because you win a game you're not supposed to win in the Cup Final. That could seal the deal.
Nope. Absolutely, Cass. And, this is the Stanley Cup Final now. Just curious what your thoughts, if either goalie Let's just go with Stuart Skinner now. But if a goalie has a bad game, you're sticking to this final guy, right? Unless something crazy happens, you're riding with Skinner, right?
You have to at this point. Now, if he heaven forbid you drop 3 straight and Stuart Skinner was bad in 2 of them, maybe you switch it up for game 4 with nothing to lose. But aside from that, yeah, you're running with them. Why wouldn't you? I mean, I can pretty much tell you it would be a very similar situation if it was reversed. If Bobrovsky struggles game 1, he's going to be back in game 2. If he struggles game 1, game 2, maybe he's out, but probably still back in game 3 if they drop 3 straight to the Edmonton Oilers, which let's hope that happens. That'd be fantastic. Then maybe you see Spencer Knight come in game 4 in relief. But yeah, these are your guys. This is your lineup. This is your goaltender, and this is who you're going to run with.
Cass, with Bobrovsky, obviously we know that he's a very athletic goaltender. He has the ability to steal games. What do the Oilers need to do to make him look ordinary and vulnerable in the net?
Yeah, I think that power play has to be clicking like it was. You can't have a big gap in your success on the power play like you saw at the start of the Dallas series. If you can keep clicking on there, I think you can start to get to him. That's going to be big. I think not letting him feel comfortable early will be a big part of it. So game 1, game 2 is finding a way to put a couple pucks in the net in those first 2 games. Like make him feel and look human. Don't allow him to settle into full Bobfather mode. If you can get him half Bobfather, you're okay, but just don't let him go full Bobfather. Like, right? You don't want him to go all the way. You don't want him to be playing at a level where he's just like completely in the zone. You have to make him feel early, or have to early on make him feel a little bit uncomfortable and make him feel like he's not invincible.
Is that where the worm comes in?
It could be. I think that I think he's really important in this series for the Edmonton Oilers to try to. Now, I don't think Gage would probably say this. Most goalies would probably say this. Like Corey Perry just getting in your face once or twice is going to completely throw you off. But it can get really annoying, and if the Oilers are scoring and he's doing that, it can get to you a little bit. But I do think he's going to play, especially in a series that could have more charged emotion for the Oilers than the Dallas series, because Dallas is very much like a play to the whistle, get out of there. I mean, that's how they were played. That's how they were trained. Not take penalties. Don't take penalties. Just get in, get out, and don't have a increase in aggression or of the, we'll call it violence in the series, where Florida, I don't think, has that filter on it. And Corey Perry is one of the players in the Edmonton Oilers that has the ability to do that. And whether it is little bumps on Bobrovsky, which is just as much about the other players on the ice and on the bench as it is about the goaltender. You're probably not going to hurt the goaltender. They got a lot of equipment on, but it could be trying to get to him, trying to get to everyone else. And it could be, Corey Perry could play a pretty important role in this series.
We got one texter basically coming in here. We've got to ask you for, let me see. Cass, is the brisket done? We're getting hungry out here. And also, someone plugged the toilet. How do we fix that? I think you're needed, Cass.
Yeah, it's not brisket. They should know that. It is. We're doing pulled pork. We got pork shoulders, and if they plug the toilet, it's we're old school here. We got the internet, but that's about it. So it's you got the poop shack outside. So if you plug that thing, heaven help me, because I don't know what you did. So I hope you're fine. They're trying to blow up my phones. They're phone checking me every 5 seconds here, so it keeps ringing, and they're trying to send texts and distract me.
Yeah, they're trying to get you off your game, Cass, but you're a pro, buddy.
For sure.
You don't crumble in the wind. That's for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cass, is it okay if I just ask you one last question here, because it seems
absolutely, buddy.
Yeah,
you know what? With that suit, how can I not let it happen?
Oh, that's super nice of you. Okay, yeah, it's so. This is the Oilers are in the Stanley Cup Final. This is the first time we get to see Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl in the Stanley Cup Final. So, just curious, we haven't even talked about McDavid yet. It's just crazy. There's so many other storylines heading into this one, but now's a good time to bring up 97. What are you guys expecting from him? Obviously, this is his first time. When you look at Gretzky, his first appearance in the Stanley Cup Final, they lost. You look at Sidney Crosby, his first appearance in the Stanley Cup Final, they lost. Are we expecting McDavid to put up points like we've never seen him before? Or do you think we'll see a different side of him? Maybe he's just going to be so honed in on defense like we've never seen him play before. Like, what is your lean towards his play? Do you think he's going to be just offensive dynamo like we've never seen, just kind of like how he was in the playoffs with in the Battle of Alberta series is kind of what I just remember. He was just lights out then. Or are we going to see a new side of him, like blocking shots, just being physical? What do you guys think?
Well, we've seen him be physical before.
Yeah,
we've seen him be physical before. He has that ability. I think you're going to see him do whatever it takes. I don't know if we'd say all of a sudden it's, like he's going to go to another level from a point standpoint. I mean, he's at that level already. I think where he just kind of pops off and goes nuts. But I think you're going to see him honed in and dialed in. And you can see in games when Connor McDavid decides to take it over and when he brings that extra gear and that extra level, coming in with a lot of rest, I do expect that we're going to see that. We're going to see the best player in the world be the best player in the world. Now you're going to have some really good counters on Florida that are a really good team that are going to try to slow him down, going to try to stop him, going to make it difficult for him. But I think you see Connor McDavid just bring his absolute A game, which is, pretty
best
darn special because he's the best player in the world.
Yeah. 100%. I would say that, on Hello Hockey this morning, we had DVD on. He'd mentioned that McDavid is fully healthy now. So if he actually is, this is fantastic. And I do think that you're going to see the best version of McDavid. We've already seen him blocking shots. We've already seen him being physical. He's taken this Oilers team, and there's a commitment across the board. You see Holloway selling out for pucks. Guys are doing whatever it takes to get that victory, and that is coming from McDavid. And you can see it in everything that he does. I just found that he's grown tremendously over the course of the year, and in the playoffs, I feel like he's just taken another step. So you're going to get a real good McDavid. You're going to get his best game. Draisaitl obviously is there as well. And, to your point, Cass, where, you've got some good counters on the Florida Panthers side, I still go back to saying, yes, that's true. But at the same time, the Florida Panthers have not dealt with a Connor McDavid and a Leon Draisaitl yet. So it's going to be a fascinating matchup, and it's going to be a really, really good game.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And they're way better than not, and that's not to throw shade at my boy Mika Zibanejad, who I love. He's a fantastic human. But Draisaitl and McDavid are not Zibanejad and Panarin. They're not. They're
100%.
better.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Cass, just one last thing. What are your thoughts going into tonight's game? Do you like the matchup? Who do you think is going to win? Just what are your thoughts going into this one before you head off?
Yeah, I think Edmonton takes game one. And I've said it's going to be a 7-game series. I think it's a split. I think Edmonton takes game one. Florida takes game two. Now, I could be totally wrong. And, of course, after the first game, after the first period, our opinions are probably going to change or possibly change. But I say Edmonton wins tonight in a close one. We'll call it 4-2 with an empty net Edmonton. That's my prediction, although we all know predictions are garbage. So who knows? But yeah, I think Edmonton wins. I like them going in. I like them winning in 7 in the series.
Let's go. There we are.
I love it.
Awesome,
Let's
Cass.
go.
You're an absolute beauty. Thank you for doing this, man. Really, really appreciate it. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. And, take her easy. I guess you'll be joining Tommy wait, no, you won't be. So sorry about that. But have a wonderful rest of your night, man. Take her easy.
Thanks,
and
buddy.
have some
You
fun.
too. Yeah, you're absolutely crushing it. You're doing a great job. So be proud of yourself. Give yourself a pat in the back. If any of your family's still watching, still listening, he's doing great. He's doing absolutely great. So make sure you spoil him rotten. And Trev, you're giving Tommy some competition for the ladies here.
Is.
So
he
wow.
is.
Yeah,
And I got a pretty terrible beard right now, but
looking good.
I appreciate that, buddy.
Tommy's in trouble.
Okay, that's awesome. Right on, man. Okay, take her easy.
See you, brother.
Have a good one, Cass.
You too, guys.
Sweet. That is our game analyst, and that was Game Changers, presented by Damon Bunting. Holy crap, this is crazy, man. We're getting there. 40 minutes away from puck drop. Holy crap.
Yep,
This is
getting
insane,
closer.
man.
Are you starting to sweat because you're nervous?
I'm
or are you
for the
nervous because
game,
you're
man.
sweating?
Yeah, like the nerves for doing this have subsided. Like I'm good,
Yep.
but the nerves are back for
For the game.
these different reasons, man. Waited my whole life for this, and Zach as well. Like I think a lot of people, I have a YouTube channel. I've uploaded a few videos over the past week. And the consensus, a lot of people, man, this is a first for so many people, right? And you do have the people, that grew up watching the Oilers, and it was just the dynasty, right? You're just like, oh, this is how it's going to be, right? And you've heard a lot of people say that, but for so many people, this is just totally new to them, and that's kind of what it is for me. So that's awesome. You are tuned in to the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. My name is YouTube Trev, and Got Belsey. Got Belsey right beside me here. This is awesome. We're having a lot of fun here. We are at Hudson's Bourbon Street. If you're not already here, definitely come on down. We want you to be here. This is awesome. The crowds. I'm seeing a lot of Oilers right now. A lot of Oilers jerseys, that is. So that's cool to see. You love to see it. And
yeah, just a few tables left. It's starting to really fill up here. So if you plan on getting down here, I would hurry up and order some food and get cozy for the game.
Yep, absolutely. And I should mention, this is when Tommy usually does it, portions of this hour brought to you by 103.3 The Bear, Edmonton's best rock. Catch Dustin Nielsen with Yukon, Jack and Scott McCord weekday mornings, and tune in to Jess Jackson on your way home from work every afternoon. So that's that. What do you say? Let's hear from some Oilers. I think Belsey.
Yeah.
Zacticum, how you doing? Are you holding the fort down? How's everything going over there?
Oh, it's going great. Just digging myself into the nasty chat a little bit, checking out what people are saying, and people seemed hyped.
Yes.
Cass, of course, has always crushed it. Had a lot to say. Man, there's so many storylines in this. Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm sitting here. The nerves are building by the minute, and this is set to be fantastic. Like, the players are excited. There was media day yesterday. McDavid wore the same suit again to the games. So 4 games in a row now. He's wearing the suit, right?
Something.
You got to wear it. You got to wear it if you're winning. So, yeah, I'm doing good.
No, that's good, man. And the media day, it was interesting to see because Gene Principe, on my way in here today, I saw a video he posted on Twitter. It's nice to see, like, obviously both teams, both players, all the players are dialed in, but you see all the fans and all that. And, usually, time will tell if it's because obviously we saw what happened with McDavid here in Edmonton, but he's walking by all these fans and they didn't ask him anything. You got that's nice. So huge props to them. But Zach, without further ado, who are we going to hear from first tonight?
Well, I mean, this guy helped lead the team into the playoffs. Wasn't skating, but he was on the bench telling them what to do. Here is head coach Chris Knobloch.
If you can explain what Corey Perry's brought to your team since he's arrived.
A lot of leadership. I guess that's pretty a big term. Just what is leadership? I think a lot of guys have a lot of respect for him just because of his resume and everything that he's accomplished in his career. I know throughout the season he's spoken up on things that need to be addressed with our team and how we've been playing, and righted the ship a lot of the times. And I just think giving us a lot of play on the ice, making plays, whether it's on the wall or around the net, and maybe his numbers aren't what they usually are in the playoffs. Not as goal scoring that he usually does. But, the intangibles of his game, I think, go a lot farther.
Front right. Chris, with the power play as powerful as yours has been, how important do you think drawing penalties is going to be in this series?
Well, you can't score power play goals unless you're on the power play. I think we'll have our opportunities to be on the power play. I know Florida is one of the most penalized teams throughout the playoffs. But for us to be looking for them or embellishing, we've never done that. We're not that type of team. But the more we possess the puck, the more we're moving our feet and making plays. We're putting them in a position to take a penalty against us, and ultimately that's all that we can control. And then if the officials feel that something's warranted for a penalty, then that'll be good for us. But we just have to worry about playing the game.
Third row left, Pierre.
Chris, I'm wondering, given your former ties to the Rangers organization, if you're able to tap into some friends there ahead of this series and pick their brain.
I got made some phone calls around the league and got some pre-scouts on Florida, and a lot of things confirmed what we saw. And, hopefully we can use that information to help us and give us every advantage we can get because, we're playing a very good team and we need every advantage we can get.
Second row right, Derek.
Hey, Chris, I know the guys thought that the break between first and second round was a little long with the week off. I just want to know how this break Is it been beneficial, or would you have rather played a little sooner?
No, it ends up being a long week. This is the second time we've done this. After the LA series, we had a long break before we started with Vancouver, and same thing with now this. But both teams are going through it. They've got one extra day. I'm sure they're ready to get going too. At the time, it's like, all right, we got some time to prepare and pre-scout and do all our meetings. But after a while, you're itching to get going and start playing.
Back left, Josh.
Chris, I'm just wondering what George Mumford has brought to your group.
He's brought a lot. I met George, I believe it might have been in Florida. First time when I just joined the team, I'd been with 4 or 5 games.
Was Chris Knobloch, head coach of the Edmonton Oilers. The game one, first time in the Stanley Cup Final. I think he sounds pretty good. Going up against Paul Maurice, who's been here, who's almost done that, and he's actually talked about it over the years. He's been coaching. I think he quoted it this week. I've been coaching for 30 years and I haven't won a damn thing. So it'd be nice. So it's interesting. It's going to. Both coaches, I feel like the players just rally behind them, especially Paul Maurice. Like, just watching the Jets team, a few years ago when they did go to the Western Conference Final, he was the guy. Like, he's such a phenomenal coach, and I think this series does have like 2 really, really good coaches. We've seen what Knobloch has done, not just in the playoffs, but in the regular season. Belzy, he was making calls, and people are like, "Oh, like, well, why are you doing that?" And then in the third period, that player that he brought up from the 4th line to the 1st line did ultimately score. We've seen it in the playoffs. So he's a shot caller, and he's doing a hell of a job so far, I'd like to think. Let's quickly dip into the nasty chat. We're getting lots of texts and lots of comments, so we encourage that. Keep on dropping the comments in. Chief Andy waiting for YTT to hand out a GC with a wink. We're all out. YTT looks very corporate. Are you seeing anything?
It's corporate Trev. That's what it is.
Corporate Trev.
Corporate Trev. No, yeah, with the suit on. So anytime you see him, it's corporate Trev. No, just thinking and hearing what Knobloch had to say, it was very evident that I don't think the Oilers really want to try to get into to the nonsense. That Florida's going to try to wear you down physically. That Florida's going to try to grimy this game up. And they've won series based off being in the trenches.
Yep. And
you heard it with Knobloch. He basically just said, like, we just got to go out and play. We can't get worried and caught up in all the extracurricular and the fact that the Panthers have had 758 hits through 17 games. That stuff doesn't matter. We're in the playoffs. We're in the Stanley Cup Final. We just got to go play and not get it in our own heads, because when we've seen the Oilers kind of collapse, it's because the Oilers collapse. It's not that another team has actually done something to them to change the storm. It's always the Oilers have let their foot off the gas or whatever that looks like. So for them, just go out and play. Yes, there's going to be nerves, right? But it's good. It's good to have those nerves because you still care about it. So I'm looking forward to it. And yes, I completely agree with Knobloch. They just got to go play.
Yep. No, I agree. It'll be interesting to see how the special teams match up. Obviously, the Florida Panthers, they do have the second best penalty kill in, remaining in the NHL in the finals here, and the Oilers. But they are behind the Oilers, who are, I think it's 28 straight they've killed off right now. Yep. So that's a fascinating story as well. And it's interesting as well because you look at the LA Kings going into the first series of this playoffs, the Oilers power play. The Kings, they played against the Oilers. They know their tendencies. And obviously the scouting report out, the video coaches are going to be looking. But I mean, I feel like the fact that the Oilers haven't played the Panthers in almost 4 or 5 months now, like their power play, I'd like to think it should match up against, and credit to the Florida Panthers. They have a tremendous penalty kill, but I don't know. There's something about not facing this team and like the Oilers power play, it's historic, Belzy. Like it's unbelievable. They have so many weapons, they have so many plays that they can do on any given night, and it's just crazy. It's taken a whole new level this playoffs. It was good in the regular season, but it's definitely take that next step up in the postseason.
It's the Oilers power play has to probably be one of the hardest power plays to scout because you think that you've honed in on something, and instantaneously they switch it up. You have McDavid, who's the best player in the world, Draisaitl, who is arguably second or third, doesn't really matter. What I'm basically saying is that they have weapons everywhere, and the crazy part of this whole thing is the forgotten man on that power play is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and he's been dangerous.
Yep.
He showed up in Vancouver. He showed up in Dallas. He's been fantastic. He's been adding to the team. So it's hard. Whether they use a shot from Bouchard, whether they're looking through the seam to Draisaitl in his regular spot, whether they're trying to go backdoor to Hyman, like they just have so many options, and it is almost impossible to pregame and scout against the Oilers because of how good their players are. So for the Florida Panthers, like, you have to stay out of the box. And we've talked about this before. Does that now affect Florida's game if they're in the box and you've got the Edmonton Oilers consistently, converting on the power play?
Yeah, and you have to think it would. That totally changes the game. If the refs are going to be calling, all the shenanigans which the Florida Panthers tend to play with, it's a game changer. That in and of itself will definitely change the series. So definitely a fascinating story there. Another question for you, Cass. As I was driving in, just looking at the teams over the last years and, just facing adversity, there's always that saying.
Say Cass or Belsey?
Oh, did I not Belsey. I'm sorry. Oh, I apologize, man. My apologies. I'm terrible with names, man. I apologize, man.
Oh, too much.
But you're facing adversity all the time. And just what are your thoughts on that? You look at the Boston Bruins last year. They had historically the best season ever, statistically speaking, and then they're out and won. You look back 2 seasons prior to that, the Tampa Bay Lightning's first, and then they got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I don't know. Is there do you buy into that you have to face adversity? Would the Oilers be where they are right now if they didn't, suck so bad to start the season, would you say?
Yeah, no, they definitely face adversity. And I think what adversity does is it galvanizes a team and it brings guys together. And if you look at the situation with the Oilers, dead last in the league or tied for dead last in the league, the game where they went into San Jose and they ended up losing, and you can see Woodcroft walking across the ice, and he looks at Manson. He's like, "That I think that was it." That's hard. That's hard on players, and knowing that a coach got fired because you guys weren't performing or they weren't performing, it's hard for every player. And so they get a new coaching staff in, and all of a sudden they just hit the accelerator, and it doesn't matter what the reason for the coaching change was. The fact of the matter is they came together as a group, and they've been playing their best hockey since that point.
Yeah.
And to me, that's for them to be able to battle out of that hole that they dug. They won 16 games in a row. Like, they did some really, really good things over the course of the year, but none of that probably starts or happens without the start that happened.
Yeah.
And so for the Oilers, they face adversity. I mean, it's good for them. It brings them together, like I mentioned. And then on the flip side, the Florida Panthers, I mean, they've gone through it as well. They weren't the best team in the league. They had their ups and downs. They've had injuries. You go back to last year, well, they were a preseason favorite to win the cup, or at least be in the top 5 of the league. And then they're decimated by injury. They come back last minute. Everybody's healthy. They go in to play Boston. They win that series.
Yeah.
And then you go into this season, and the same kind of thing happened. Like, there's a bit of injuries. They weren't whole. So they've had their own adversity, and they're also battle tested in the playoffs. So it's going to be a fantastic series.
No, absolutely. Belsey. Absolutely, Belsey. No, this is a lot of fun, man. Just talking about the Florida Panthers right now, is there anyone, or should I say who's the guy that the Oilers have on the board? Or is it just the whole team in general? You probably can't focus just on one guy, but who's their game changer? Is it Matthew Tkachuk? Obviously, he's besides Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl over the last 3 postseasons, I believe, or last 3 years in general. Those 2 players are the only players that have more points than Matthew Tkachuk. So obviously you're going to be wary of him. You got Carter Verhaeghe. You got probably the best 2-way defense or centerman in Alexander Barkov as well. Is there a guy that you'd be like, oh, because you're a defenseman, who would you be?
Well, obviously Tkachuk, he's much talked about here in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Because of his days in Calgary and what he brings to the table. So that he's going to be circled on the board. But at the same time, so is Barkov. Barkov is, I think he's underrated when it comes to the offensive side. Everybody talks about how good he is defensively, but man, this guy's he's an unbelievable talent. He's an elite talent in the league, and that's definitely a guy that I would be concerned about because he has the ability to impact the game. So Florida Panthers side, if I'm the Oilers, I'm making sure that I'm hard on Barkov. I'm making sure that I'm hard on Tkachuk, and those guys can't get anything for free because I think those are the guys up front that make the Florida Panthers tick.
Yep. No, absolutely. Before we head into the locker room, again, I'll just rattle off the lineups while we're talking about these players and just the matchups in general. For the Edmonton Oilers, on the first line, you've got a line that has just performed just tremendously, I'd say, all season long. Connor McDavid slotted in between Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman. On the second line, you've got Leon Draisaitl in between Evander Kane and Dylan Holloway. Third line has Adam Henrique. Be interesting to see. It's kind of been under the radar. Not a lot of people have been talking about him, but kind of Swiss Army knife. You can throw him in wherever. He'll be between Connor Brown and Matthias Janmark. For the fourth line that finishes off the Oilers forwards, you got Ryan McLeod. You've got Warren Fogle on the left wing. He's back in the lineup, so that'll be interesting to see. And you've got Corey Perry, who's also been there, and he's done that once, but it's been a while. It'll be like that. It's kind of funny that here he is. He's back in the Stanley Cup Final. I think that's why they traded for him. They're like, hey, you got Corey Perry on the team. He's probably going to be in the Stanley Cup Final. So if he can finally break that curse that he seems to have, that would be awesome. Obviously, if you're an Oilers fan, okay. Head to defense side of things. You've got Matthias Ekholm and Evan Bouchard. You've got Darnell Nurse and Cody Ceci. How do we feel about that? Oilers oil country? That'll be a fascinating. I'll have my eyes glued to that just because they haven't.
Don't get them started, Trev.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Move along, and then to finish things off, you've got Philip Broberg, who came up clutch with a huge goal against the Stars, and he'll be slotted with Brett Kulak. So that's the Oilers. Oh, there we go. We got some nasties coming in. Let's go. How do you do? Oh, that's cool. I always wanted to say that, Bells. Okay. Now for the Florida side of things, you've got Sasha Barkov in between Carter Verhaeghe, who is a clutch performer. You got Sam Reinhart, 50-goal scorer as well. Second line, you've got former Flame, current Florida Panthers, Sam Bennett. He's in between Evan Rodriguez and Matthew Tkachuk. For the third line, you've got Anton Lundell with Eetu Luostarinen and Vladimir Tarasenko. For the fourth line, you've got Kevin Stenlund in between Kyle Pozo and Steven Lorenz. Let's go. Another nasty. What's up? For the defense for the Florida Panthers, you've got Gustav Forsling partnered up with Aaron Ekblad. You've got Nico Mikkola. I love saying that name, with Brandon Montour. And then to finish things off, you've got OEL, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, partnered up with Dmitry Kulikov, former Oiler. Okay, those are tonight's lineups. As always, guys, feel free to text us at any time, whether you're listening to us on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. We appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do. Leave a like. That would be awesome. We would definitely appreciate it. It's definitely filling out here now. But without further ado, Zach to come. How you doing? Who are we hearing from next, Zach?
Well, these guys did their interview together. Matthias Ekholm and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, both defensively minded. I mean, Matthias Ekholm is a defenseman. Yep. Here are the boys right now.
You've spent many long years with the Oilers organization. There may have been times when you doubted that you would ever be here, and I'm just wondering what you're thinking the morning of the Stanley Cup Final.
Definitely excited to get it started for sure. I think like most players, you go through some tough times. It's rare for it to all just go well for your entire career. So I kind of went through that at the start of the career, and then had some really good years where we really had a belief in the team. And I think we've, especially this core group, has always believed that we've had it in us to get to this point, but obviously it's a long road and difficult to do, so we're excited to be here.
Fourth row left, Stephen.
Matthias, what has Paul Coffey done for you guys as a defense, and kind of what has he brought to the coaching staff?
I think he's brought a mindset, first and foremost, where he wants us to move the puck and not just flip it out, and I think that goes a long way sometimes, just hearing that from your coach. We all know how to play defense, and that's usually what you get taught. And I mean, when you look at video with the coach the next day and you had a bad game, usually you don't go through your breakouts, you go through your bad defensive plays. So again, he's come in and he's kind of just been, you guys need to play, you guys need to be free. We have some of the best forwards in the world. We need to hit them in stride on the tape, and I think that's the biggest thing that he's brought to us. And obviously he has experience like nobody else. So when he says something, you obviously listen because he's teaching you from experience, and I think he's been a great asset for us.
Front left, Shawn.
Ryan, you've played a lot against Corey Perry in your career, and I'm just curious now, having him in your room and seeing him play for your team, maybe what you appreciate that you didn't before.
Well, I mean, I think like you said, I've played against him for many years now. Especially when I first came in, he was on a really good team, always tough to play against. Could score at will. You definitely think of him as a goal scorer, but I mean, how hard he plays is something that we see on a day-to-day basis, and how hard he works, and his puck protection is at an elite level still at this point. So. He's a great leader for us, and a lot easier to have on your team than to have to play against, for sure.
Back left, Josh.
This is for either of you guys. Zach Hyman yesterday called George Mumford their secret weapon. What has he meant to this group since he's been with you guys?
I think he's meant a lot. I think obviously different guys use him differently, and I think that's always the way it should be. Some guys need it more, some guys need it less, but he's just he comes in and he always has a smile on his face, and he kind of brings a vibe into the room where he takes down the seriousness of everything, and sometimes that can be a great thing and a great asset for us. So it's been great working with him, and he's obviously had an influence on a lot of guys in our room.
Second row right, Derek.
Hi, Matthias. There's 5 guys here that have played in finals on your team, I guess, and getting a second chance, sometimes that doesn't happen. I just want to ask you about getting the second opportunity at a final. How do you kind of approach it, and what do you have to do to kind of make the outcome different this time around?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not taking it for granted at this point in my career, but super happy to be back and excited. And I think just what comes back, I wouldn't say I have any regrets with the 17 final, but at the same time, you're trying to make everything out of this one because you never know if it's your last one. And I'm not getting any younger. So just kind of what I said there, it's like I'm trying to prepare as good as I can to make sure at puck drop tonight and going forward, I'll be at my best and make sure. I mean, at the end of the day, they have a great team too. It's going to come down to margins that are probably so small, and the bounces here and there. And that's just something you got to live with. That's hockey. So you can't get too into it either, where you're just trying to prepare forever. It's going to be a hockey game, and at the end of the night, you never know who's going to come out winning out of those games. But at least I'm trying to do everything I can for myself to be at the top of my game and our team to be at top of our game.
We'll take a couple more on the left, Pierre.
Matthias, I remember the day before the playoffs started, day before Game 1 against LA, you were chatting after practice, and one of the things you talked about that day was needing to find a way during a playoff run to win some ugly games where you're not going to have your A game every night, and that's how you go deep. And of course, here you are in the Cup final, but no greater example probably than Game 6 against Dallas, where the A game wasn't there. How big will that be in this series, where there might be moments in games where it's a bit of a survival hockey and you just got to get through it? Where do you think the confidence of this team is to sort of fight through that?
Yeah, I mean, I can only answer for myself, but I think it should be at an all-time high after that Game 6. It wasn't the prettiest of games, but we dug it out, and again, like we can't expect to outscore every opponent in the playoffs when you go on a deep run. It's just not going to happen. It's just too good of a league and too good of teams that we're playing against. So it's been encouraging. I think there was one game against the LA series, we won 1-0. I'm not saying we shouldn't have won that one, but we weren't better than them. We just kind of grinded it out, and sometimes that's just going to have to be the case. And I think that if you look back at, I've only been here for two runs, but I thought last year we were a little fragile with that. We couldn't hold that down, so to speak. Like we would go up 1 or 2-0 in the second, and then we kind of just let them come at us and they would score. Like now I feel like we've reached a level of understanding of that, okay, maybe for the next 5 minutes, for the next 10 minutes, for the next period, I'm just going to have to stay on the right side of things, make sure the shots are coming from the outside, make sure our goaltender sees every puck, and kind of, as I said earlier, just grind it out. And I think we've had games in this playoffs where we've done that, and I think there's an understanding in the room from everybody that that's just going to have to be the case sometimes. Hopefully we don't have to do it too much. I'd rather play great games and outplay them, but usually that's not the reality.
Last one, fourth row on the left, JF.
Question for Matthias. You can only dress 6 defensemen, so tonight Vincent Desharnais will not be playing. From the outside, he seems to be the type of person where it's team first. How can you describe the way he's acting since he's not playing, Vinny?
Vincent?
Yeah, Vincent.
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, he's been great on the ice, great off the ice. He's a really true professional when it comes to that. He's very with his warm-ups, with everything. He's such a true pro. But again, somebody's going to have to not play, and when he doesn't, he's always feels like he's always a part of the team. Still, he doesn't go down on anything. He just try to whatever he can do to make the team better, even though he's not playing, he's doing. So I've been really impressed with that because, I mean, he's not the youngest anymore, but he doesn't have that much experience, so it's easy for those kind of guys to just kind of disappear, but he has not. He's been around the team. I feel like he's doing everything possible that he can to help us, even though he may not be on the ice every night.
That was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Matthias Ekholm ahead of tonight's Game 1, the Stanley Cup Final. Holy crap. It's crazy. It's almost puck drop. This is getting insane.
Yeah, it's getting closer.
Yeah, man.
Those patches on the Oiler jerseys look fantastic, don't they?
Cool. Yeah, it absolutely does. So, no, Matthias Ekholm, we've talked about it at length all season long, just how insane he's been. And just the fact, like, Belzy, they wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be here. Like, there's no way, because not only has he helped with Evan Bouchard, but, like, he's just such a stud. And if there ever was best defenseman of, an award for 2 defensemen, best offensive defenseman, or just best, stay at home, just absolutely, just the definition of defending, right? Mm-hmm. You have to think he'd be in the mix. But, and it was cool too. Like this past week, if you subscribe to Oilers Plus, there's a video circulating, and it was him hugging Kenny Holland. And he said, he's like, thank you so much for trading for me. But just how much, am I wrong in saying that? There's no way that they'd be here without him.
Yeah, like he's been fantastic. He's come in, he's solidified the defense. He adds a extremely calming presence to the back end. It's a guy that has been to the Stanley Cup Finals. He's basically done everything in hockey. Whether that's the Olympics or the World Championships, he's done it all, and he's been such a driving force in that locker room. And he touched on it too. It's the experience that he lends to the team. Back in 2017, he went to the finals with Nashville, and just having that experience in the room and the guys to lean on and they can ask questions, it's a big thing. And there were some really interesting talking points that he brought up, and one of them is the fact that he felt like last year they would crumble to some of the moments that have happened this year. Yeah. And this year they're a lot stronger. They bend, but they don't break. They can kind of fight through more of that adversity. So totally. You're seeing the maturation of this team like right in front of your eyes, and I think that's what's so special. And you actually talked about with Corey Perry. You bring Corey Perry into the lineup for reasons like this.
Yeah,
he's been there. He's talked to the team. He said, "Boys, enjoy the journey. You never know what's going to happen. Go out and play, right? But don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just embrace the moment." Which is what Cass has also mentioned. Yeah. So it's an exciting time in Edmonton, and you've got great pieces that Oilers management added over the course of the last couple of years that have allowed the Oilers to get to this spot.
Yeah, no. So kudos to Kenny Holland. He's just like Knobloch. He's made some really good calls, and obviously bringing in Matthias Ekholm was one of them. So just tremendous to see how much he's helped the team, and just Evan Bouchard, who's just having a stellar run. I think he's 10 points back on his coach now, Paul Coffey, all time. And that's just crazy in his own right. So he could be like if it goes to a 7-game series, that's not everything, but that would be cool to see Evan Bouchard break that record. And it's just crazy. He's like 1 point behind Cale Makar, who ultimately won the Conn Smythe that year when the Colorado Avalanche didn't win the Cup. So it's fascinating to see. But this is the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. I'm your host, YouTube Trev.
Corporate Trev. Don't even do this. Corporate Trev.
I'm Corporate Trev tonight. And alongside Bellsy, we're absolutely crushing it, and so are you. Where are you guys listening from? Drop a comment down below. Feel free. If we're coming down to 16 minutes here, so drop a comment. Ask if you have anything to ask, either myself or the guy who played the game professionally and in the NHL. Ask Bellsy, because he knows a heck of a whole lot more than I do. And just let's go into some text now. You can text us 218-780-9999. I said it all the other ones. I don't know. But we got this one. No name text. Hey boys, YTT and Zacticum are both looking sharp. Let's go. You love to see it. Go Oilers. Everyone seems to be touting the Oilers as the underdog in the series, and I disagree. I think the opposite. Oilers are going to write their own story and take control of the series starting tonight. And it's kind of interesting. It depends on, these are the two best teams, Bellsy. They really are. Yep. We had DVD on Hello Hockey today. He covers the Oilers for sure, way more than he does the Panthers. And then we brought in Pagnotta, and he was saying the exact opposite, right? And they both have cases. Why? Because, I took a screenshot of this because it's kind of crazy. But as of November 5th, you look at the Edmonton Oilers, the two best teams since November 5th are the Edmonton Oilers at 1 and the Florida Panthers at 2. 72 games played for both teams, 47 wins for both teams, 20 losses for both teams, and 5 overtime losses, and it comes out to 99 points. They have the exact same record. And I was going to get into it with Cass earlier on. Didn't quite get to it, but I love this. This is the first time I'm putting on the spot right now. I can't really think of it, but I love that it's best on best. The Cinderella story is nice every now and then.
Yep.
But I mean, when you have the McDavids, the Dreisaitl's, the top end talent of the world, I think that's kind of why I quit watching after last year, because I'm like, I didn't think that the Vegas Golden Knights were the best team, and I didn't think that the Florida Panthers were the best. So I don't know. There's something about just watching the two best teams perform, and that's what we're going to be watching here tonight, Bellsy.
Well, listen, at the end of the day, who cares if they're the underdog?
Yeah.
Man, I would want to be the underdog, because then you just get to go out and play. The team that's the favorite, well, that's where all the pressure is. So, hey, if somebody says you're the underdog team, like, whoop-de-doo, who cares? You're in the Stanley Cup Final because you earned it.
Yep.
That is what it is at the end of the day. It's Florida versus Edmonton. Doesn't matter who's the underdog. There's two teams battling it out, and they just need to go out and play. And we've talked about it at length. Like, the Oilers have high-end talent. The Florida Panthers are going to be good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Let the guys go out and dictate what happens on the ice. We don't need to worry about whether they're the underdog or not. It's going to be a fantastic battle. The city of Edmonton deserves it. They've gone through some crazy times here in the city. So for me, it's let's enjoy the ride. Let's enjoy what's happening right now, because they're 4 ways away from winning the Stanley Cup. Don't worry about the rest of the stuff. Enjoy what it is. Get some beers in you. Get some birdie booze in you, and go from there.
It's already going. No, that's sweet. I couldn't have said it any better, Bellsy.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick look at the nasty chat. I see one. Where are you guys broadcasting from? This is from my stepdad, Frank Party. Well, Frank, we are right now currently at Hudson's in West Edmonton Mall on Bourbon Street. That's what the boys like to say. Stop on by. Honestly, it's packed. It's actually completely packed in here. But yeah, I'd still like to see it. We have a few nasties. You love to see it. So thanks for coming on down. We got a nice photo, Bellsy and I, so you love to see it. I think let's go into the locker room one more time. Wouldn't mind hearing from Florida, a Panther, if that's okay, Zach. Can we hear from the other side of things?
Yeah, for sure. Here is Matthew Tkachuk.
Kind of like a Christmas Eve feeling right now, so it's been a long week trying to keep your mind off it as much as possible and just enjoy, I guess the warm weather, be outside as much as you can, but it's hard not to think about game one, and now that it's finally almost here, it's more exciting now than earlier in the week.
You got games 3 and 4 in Edmonton. There's over 2,500 miles between there and here, what are you doing on the plane?
I'm just going to play poker. That's it.
Matt, what's it like playing the Oilers again? A team you have a lot of history with.
I guess I know them more than probably most guys by playing in Calgary, but we just had the one playoff series against them that they won and played them a bunch in the regular season. But there's a lot of different guys over there. I was just saying earlier, I don't even know if I've faced Skinner yet since he's been on the team. Maybe I have, but it's different. It's definitely different over there. They're playing great. They're a great team. Finally got to watch some of their games against Dallas, playing every other night. In our series and their series. So it was good to watch their games. They played really well and ultimately deserved to win the West. So should make for a great final.
Matthew, you're almost halfway.
Yeah, it's been amazing. This is the best place to live, play. It's been unreal. The guys are so awesome. It's a really cool group of guys. It's the trainers, everybody. Everybody made me feel so welcome from day one, which I think led to success early. And now 2 years later, we're going back to the second Cup final and hoping to have a different ending this time. So it's very, very. It's a very good time to be a Florida Panther. I'm enjoying it. I love being down here. I love playing here. It's been the best thing for me. So I've been loving it.
You've got a film crew following you around, sort of giving people an inside look at how you're living both on and off the ice. What's the benefit of that behind you?
Yeah, I got the Amazon crew with me over the last little bit. So, I still don't really know what it's ultimately gonna look like, but I think it's cool for we love watching all those shows, whether it's the golf. The tennis or the Formula One or whatever it is. It just kind of gives a good sneak peek into how athletes are on and off the ice, I guess. So I think it's very cool, and it's a great idea by them in the NHL, and I'm sure everybody's going to like it, I'm assuming.
Awesome. That was Matthew Tkachuk, forward, left winger for the Florida Panthers, ahead of tonight's Game 1 action. Kind of interesting talking about he's been here before. A lot of new faces, though, obviously, when they were referring to Battle of Alberta 2 years ago now. He's going to be a factor. I don't know. It's kind of not quite McDavid Draisaitl level, but you kind of you can't really stop a player like him. You just try to limit his chances. So tremendous player. The whole Evander Kane, Matthew Tkachuk story. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I feel like that's got to be the guy that's going to be on Tkachuk for the majority, right? It
was kind of interesting how he was downplaying a little bit the storylines. Obviously not obviously. I think maybe that might be a tactic, or the fact that he's just matured in his game, which we've talked about a lot on a lot of our different shows. This is going to be a very interesting series, but I think for the Oilers, you definitely got to make it hard for him. You got to make him, I guess, revert back to the old Tkachuk where he's going to take dumb penalties, because that could be a difference maker. And you score on the power play, it slows everything down. They have to change their game because they don't want to get into that matchup, the special teams matchup. So very interesting downplaying, but I would expect it to be a spicy game nonetheless.
No, for sure. This is the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. I'm your host, YouTube Corporate Trev. Joined by Belzy tonight. This has been a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. Pretty cool, man. This is really cool. So thank you for being a part of this. Definitely a core memory for me. We're almost on the show, so feel free to text us 780-218-9999. Have any questions for Belzy, guys? Let's fire away some questions as we are getting ready for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. And for myself as well, you can drop a comment in the YouTube channel, in the YouTube section, the comment section, and feel free to leave a like. Let's leave a like. Let's see if we can get this thing to 200 likes. That would be amazing. So I guess, Belzy, we're almost there. What are you expecting? It's been a week for both teams pretty well. Is it going to be sloppy? Is the puck going to be bouncing? Are the Oilers going to come out, guns a-blazing? Or you expect the same? Well,
I feel like there's going to be a bit of a feeling out process for the first 20 minutes. I'm not sure it's going to be necessarily sloppy, But when teams don't play for a week, especially, in the playoffs where they're used to going every other day, there's going to be, maybe the pace might be down a little bit. Who knows, really, because they might come out and they might be guns blazing too. So I expect a really good matchup. I expect two teams that want it. I expect there to be scrums. I expect there to be some physicality.
Yep.
But it's going to be an entertaining first period, and two teams that they're going to be cautious of each other for sure.
Yep. No, absolutely. And as we are 6 minutes away from puck drop, I want to get to this. This is the last time the Oilers made it to the Stanley Cup Final, 2006. These weren't created, or this was the top song. This was the movie of the year. I just found this I was driving in, and I think it's kind of interesting. So I'm not going to go through the whole. There's a lot. So I'll just read off a few things. The top song in Canada that year was "Bad Day" by Daniel Powder, I believe it is. But you know the song, "If You Had a Bad Day," It takes you down memory lane for sure. Sweden won the gold at the 2006 Winter Olympic Games in men's ice hockey. Twitter was created.
Oh, boy.
That was the year Twitter was created,
Wow.
2006. That wasn't the only thing created, though. The Nintendo Wii launched that year. Joe Thornton, he led the NHL with 125 points.
Jumbo.
81 games played. Barry Bonds, he passed Babe Ruth on all-time home runs list. You got Mario Lemieux. He called it quits after that year, retired from the NHL officially.
Yep.
Sony came out with the PlayStation 3. Sam Gagner, he won gold at the World Juniors that year.
Yeah,
Kind of interesting.
nice.
Yep. And then to finish things off, Dylan Holloway will be making a Stanley Cup Final debut tonight. He turned 5 years old.
That's so awesome.
Isn't that crazy? Just looking back at that,
Yeah.
man, it's insane. It actually is insane. So you love to see it. Guys, we're 4 minutes away. I guess we'll look at a few more chats in the nasty chat, a few more comments. Zacticum, let's get your final thoughts on tonight's game. What are you thinking, buddy?
Well, I did a little bit of a poll during the show, and we got 208 votes on this poll. How many games does the series go? 4, 5, 6, or 7, of course. It can go. 64% of voters said 6 games. 17% of voters said 7 games. 12% said 5, and the 4 for the sweep. 5% of 208 people said in 4 games. So 6 games is the majority. That's where I'm at right now. I think this will be a long series, 6 or 7 games for sure. I'm pumped. I mean, McDavid, I just saw the video. He was skating out there. The patch is looking great on his jersey there, and the whole team's got it. Man, like I'm shaking a little bit right now. I don't know if it's just the caffeine or whatnot, but I'm hyped heading into this game. It's going to be fantastic, and as you alluded to, definitely the two best teams in the season are facing each other in the Stanley Cup Final, which hasn't happened in a bit.
Zacticum, can you get another poll going? Who's going to do more steps? Who's going to get more steps in this game? You or corporate Trev?
Hey, I could get that up on Twitter if you guys wanted to vote on that. I think I'll be pacing around a little bit. I'm pretty fired up. So
I got a feeling Trev's going to be ripping around this place.
Yep. Good thing it's a big bar. It's a big bar. I can walk lots. And I'm in the biggest mall in North America. So how cool is that? Awesome. Zacticum, buddy, you crushed it tonight, man. Oh, I know what it's like being in that chair. It takes some cojones to be in that chair. Let me tell you, okay? And you're doing, man, just a fine job. So you keep crushing it, buddy. Fine work tonight. You look great. And, I guess you're doing the post-game show as well. So we'll see you then, buddy. What a beauty.
Nice work, Zacticum.
What a beauty. Good old Zacticum. Okay. Well, there you have it. It is Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Tonight, Edmonton Oilers, the Florida Panthers. What's going to happen? Time will only tell. What I know now is, Belzy, you're a beauty. Yeah, thanks. This is cool. I'll remember this for the rest of my life. So I really appreciate this, bro. This was awesome. To the nasties, we're talking about Joel, Jen Cole, Box Pounder, Sergei Bobrovsky, Rip City Step, Chief Andy, all of you guys. You guys, we wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for you. So you guys truly made this night special. And here's hoping in 3 more hours it can be more special. We're talking about the Oilers. An Oilers victory in Game 1. Who knows? Time will tell. That's going to do it for the Oil Stream pregame show, the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. We'll see you in a few hours, guys. Let's just, here's hoping it's a good game. That's all we got. Enjoy. Toodaloo.